The NRL Project Cars Formula C Championship, which is going to be at Donington Park this evening. This will be certainly an interesting race, as of course coming up we have the dry 5-minute qualifying session, then followed up by the first race, which is also a clear 15-minute race. So if anyone is in the chat, I'd like to see who your predictions are for pole and for the race win in race 1 before, of course, we get on to the dynamic weather in qualifying 2 and race 2 of round 3 of this championship. And I will now quickly run through the championship standings before we get underway. Now, leading the championship, we have Chazza, who is on 43 points, ahead of VSR Blizzard on 40, who was tied with Nemesis on 40, then followed by Mark on 36, Murcielago on 35, Ragno on 22, Beamer Black on 18, Galactic Skull on 14, Kevin Jacobs on 13, Kadeshi on 6, Anel Tanovic on 6, JFD on 4, and Danny Ibn Lahar on 1 point. So I'm sure that Danny will be looking to improve on his 1 point so far in this championship. But I think today we have a clear few favourites. You know, we've seen from the past 2 events at Brands Hatch and at Le Mans that Chazza, Blizzard, Nemesis and Mark are the class of the field, closely followed by Murcielago and Ragno. So it'll be interesting to see out of those 6 drivers, who will come out on top of this qualifying session, as we have Nemesis coming out of the pits. Now we will go on board with the Italian, who has been saying he has some very strong pace around this track. So it'll be interesting to see what he is able to muster up in this qualifying session. Now let's try and see who is first on track, because that is quite important, as Nemesis is warming up his tyres very aggressively there, that's for sure. Right, not too sure why Danny Bin Lahar's got a little warning there next to him, as we are just waiting for the drivers to get their flying laps started. It's a tricky chicane here. I remember yesterday when we did a little practice stream, everyone was struggling in that corner quite a bit, so hopefully the drivers do not have that same trouble this evening here, wherever you are watching from around the world. Of course, it's 7:30 in the morning here in Australia, and I'm sure across Europe it's either 8:30 or 9:30, so certainly a lot better time for you, as Danny Ibn Lahar is about to get his lap underway. Let's see what everyone can do. This is certainly going to be the best opportunity for these guys to get their best lap in, because then the pressure is on. If you do not put in a good first lap, the pressure is all on you to put in a great second lap to secure yourself a great starting position for the start of race 1. Danny looks like he's had a pretty clean lap so far, but we will move off of Danny and we'll go on board with Nemesis Racing, who for me is the favourite to take pole position from his comments, as he goes slightly wide. I don't know if you get an invalidation for that or not. Who's that in front of him? He's got a little bit of traffic. This could hinder him in his lap. This is certainly not what the Italian wants, but that car, very good decision to get out of the way there. Beautiful line there by Nemesis through that corner. I think he's looking pretty good here as the Italian. He's looking pretty good. He should be on for a strong finish in this race, as he takes that chicane absolutely wonderfully. As there is a car off circuit, they should stay off of the track, and indeed they do, as we now go to this beautiful trackside shot of Valerio going through the hairpin. He makes it through beautifully, and we have our first couple of times with Mark on a 133.4, Murcielago on a 34.1, Kadeshi on a 35.9, Danny on a 37.4. But what can Nemesis do? It is a 34 flat, 6/10 of a second behind Mark's benchmark. So that is quite an impressive lap there by Mark. Kudos to him. And Murcielago is a further 10th behind Nemesis. But let's see if any of these drivers can better Mark's time as they continue on to their second flying laps here at Donington Park. Wow, what an impressive time that is by Mark. In fourth place currently we have Chazza, who was 1.1 seconds behind Mark's benchmark there. Then we have Beamer Black, nearly 2 seconds behind. So Mark here is putting in some brilliant laps, that is for sure, and I think he deserves to be gone on board with, so that is exactly what I'm going to do. Let's go on board with Mark. Is he on a hot lap? Right, let's get this camera. Oh, I can't. I'd assume so. He might just be setting up for one here. Has Mark gone quicker? No, Murcielago has improved his time now, only just under 4/10 off Mark. There is Murcielago, so a great lap by him. Let's see if anyone else can improve. Chazza improves to go only 4/10 behind Mark, but it looks like the Brit is going to take this pole. No, Nemesis! Nemesis has got taken pole position here by the looks of things, with 36 thousandths ahead of Mark. What an absolute stonking lap by the Italian that is, and a terrific lap to put himself ahead of Mark for race 1 in the clear weather at Donington Park. A terrific effort by both Nemesis and Mark here. 2 fantastic laps, but it will be the Italian who takes pole position to start. Once the session is complete, I will run through the order of the starting grid, and of course whilst the drivers are waiting on the grid, waiting for the 5 red lights to go green. As Toby and King Macca are in the chat, hello to you guys, and thanks for joining. So there we have it. Nemesis takes pole from Mark. 3rd is Murcielago. 4th is Chazza. The top 4 separated by just under half a second. Then we have VSR Blizzard in 5th, Anel Tanovic in 6th, Kadeshi in 7th, Beamer Black in 8th, Galactic Skull in 9th, Danny Bin Lahai in 10th, Kevin Jacobs in 11th, 12th is JFD, and 13th is Ragno, as we are now waiting to get underway in this race. I'm very excited for this. The top 4 are very close on pace, as we have just seen from qualifying. Who do you think will come out on top of this battle in the first race of this of round 3 at Donington Park? I don't know. The top 4 is very close, that's for sure. It's a toss-up. You know, VSR Blizzard or Anel Tanovic could come away and take this win if the top 4 are battling so hard and holding each other up. You know, it could just be one of those races, a little bit similar to what we've seen in Brands Hatch, where the top cars were fighting so much that they just allowed other cars from a long way back to come and battle to challenge them for the podium and for the race win. As we are now ready to get underway. We are syncing up the session as we are ready to go racing. And lights out and away we go, and it looks like a very good start there for Murcielago. And it looks like the Italian has had a very poor start as we are nearly 4 abreast going into the first corner. Who will come out on top coming into the first corner? I believe it will be the Italian. Nemesis stays ahead, but we will try and go on board. In the background, that is Murcielago being going a little bit wide, but is Mark, who is looking quite threatening already to Nemesis behind. But let's check out the battle between VSR Blizzard and Chazza. This has been a constant battle, but now it looks like VSR Blizzard, that's Chazza in fact, is going to go down the inside. Oh, and there's a little bit of contact, but I think that's just a lag. And Chazza is now up into second place ahead of Mark and Murcielago. And VSR Blizzard has dropped down to 5th, who was just in front of his teammate a couple of corners ago. But a terrific start there by the Brit. Oh, that's a brilliant dive bomb there by Murcielago. He has now moved up to second place. Oh, and there's been contact. I think that's Mark. Yes, that's Mark who's come off the track back there. Oh, I feel so bad for him. We didn't quite see what happened, but I assume there was contact with him and VSR Blizzard through the chicane, and that has derailed Mark's great start and great qualifying performance, as we now have Ragno and VSR Blizzard going side by side in the last corner. Now, who will come out on top of this battle as Ragno may look to make a move down into turn 1? And he does. He throws it down the inside, but VSR Blizzard manages to hold it around the outside, or does he? Ragno gets a brilliant run out of the corner as they go side by side, coming up through these beautiful sweeping S's. They are side by side. Oh, and Ragno gets a little bit of a tap from VSR Blizzard. Will Ragno be able to stay on track? Oh, there's massive contact. And I believe, yes, and VSR Blizzard was hit off the track there, I believe, by Ragno. I'm sure we will see, we might see a little bit of an investigation for that. But it initially looked like Ragno was pushed off the track there and then went back and hit VSR Blizzard. So the stewards may be looking at that, that's for sure. But now we're back on board with Ragno, who is looking at the back of Kadeshi, and oh, Ragno nearly hits the back of Kadeshi there. He got very close as he was very good, but we got very good into the braking zone. But now we will go on board, or maybe not. Mark is already back onto the back of Ragno and Kadeshi. So brilliant pace shown here by Mark. He's showing his true pace after the first lap contact as he tries to go down the inside of Kadeshi in the last corner. Is he able to manage it? Yes, he is. As they, oh, Kadeshi and Mark are side by side now. Who will come out on top into turn 1? Kadeshi has the inside. He should be able to, but Mark is the last late breakers, and oh, he's been pushed off the track. Who was that? That was VSR. That was Ragno, I believe. Not some... Jeez, there's been some action here, that is for sure. Wow. We'll stay on board here with VSR Blizzard for a little bit, but as we've been talking about the cars behind so much, it is Nemesis who leads by just under a second to Murcielago, then followed by Chazza in P3, who is keeping himself out of trouble. Then 6 seconds back we have Mark, then followed by Beamer Black and VSR Blizzard and Ragno, who we're going to go on board with coming into the chicane behind VSR Blizzard. Is Ragno able to stop it down in the chicane? Yes, indeed he is, and he gets quite a good run out of the chicane there compared to VSR Blizzard. Will he have a look down the inside? Of course he will. And he makes a very good move there, does Ragno, and promotes himself up into P6 ahead of VSR Blizzard. But now it looks like things are closing up at the front a little bit here between Nemesis and Murcielago. As Murcielago starting to close the gap ever so slightly. Is the Italian starting to suffer some tyre wear issues? Could that be it? Or is just Murcielago a little bit strong in that part of the track towards the end of the lap than the Italian? That remains to be seen. But we will stay on board with this for a little bit longer, unless there is a super close battle behind. As indeed we will go on board with Kadeshi and VSR Blizzard. As you can see, VSR Blizzard going a bit wide there in front as he is looking to extract his revenge on Ragnar after he might feel that he was unfairly pushed off. Thought Kadeshi was going to go for the move there down the inside, but he thought better of it. Smart driving there by Kadeshi. As now we'll go back on board with Murcielago, who's closed the gap to Nemesis to just under 0.4 of a second. Can the Austrian do anything here about the Italian? No, he doesn't choose to risk anything going into that sweeping hairpin. But it certainly looks like the Austrian is now stronger at this stage of the race than Nemesis. As we move on to lap 5 of this race, and it is Nemesis who leads by 0.7 of a second over Murcielago. As we, unless this gets a little bit closer, we will go back to Ragnar and Beamer Black, who are very close. Now, will Ragnar go for the dive down the inside? He is probably close enough here. Oh, he thought about it, but he was. Oh, but Beamer Black goes wide there, that's for sure, and that gifts Ragnar the position ahead of Beamer Black up into P5. We'll go on board with Kadeshi, who is trying to overtake VSR Blizzard, as we mentioned a moment ago, but it looks like he is a bit unsuccessful. But we'll go back on board Beamer Black, who is kind of all over the back of Ragnar here. But more importantly, for the battle of the lead, Murcielago is once again only half a second behind Nemesis here. And will he be able? This is closer than he's ever been. Will he be able to make a move down the inside? No, he decides better of it. He's just slightly too far back. But Nemesis does go slightly wide. But it looks like he did get the better run out of that corner. Looks like Murcielago is challenging here. That is for sure. As we will just head back in the midfield again, as we've got a monumental battle for 5th place between Beamer Black, VSR Blizzard and Kadeshi, as we've just seen VSR Blizzard go down the inside of Kadeshi into the final corner. Now Kadeshi is going to look down the inside into the first corner on VSR Blizzard. Will he be able to get it slowed down in time? It looks like he will be able to, and gets a brilliant run on Beamer Black. Will he be able to do anything heading into the next sweeping corners to get past Beamer Black? Oh, I think there's some contact behind. Yes, indeed. Beamer Black went off the track. Not exactly sure what's happened, but there is. Oh, it looks like there's going to be a drama here. Looks like there's going to be a drama. Oh, there's massive contact, and Ragnar is sent onto the grass, and he has managed to stop causing any major issues there. But now we have a 4-way battle for 5th place. This is absolutely chaos back here in the midfield, as Ragnar gets a brilliant run on Kadeshi and Beamer Black, and is now ahead going into the chicane. Will he be able to make the move stick? And he's had to cut the chicane ever so slightly. But now we've got Anel Tanovic joining. I don't know why it's taken me on to Nemesis, but now we have got 5 cars in this battle. Maybe even 5 cars. Yes, 5 cars in this battle now. No, this is 6 cars for the battle for 5th. Wow, this is absolutely crazy. It's Galactic Skull and Anel Tanovic has now joined the battle. This is an absolutely ridiculous battle. Oh, there looks to be a bit of contact between Beamer Black and Anel Tanovic there. But let's see, it looks like Kadeshi might have a look down the inside of Ragno, but he decides better of it. But let's see if there's any moves behind these two. So it looks like Galactic Skull will try to go up the inside of Beamer Black, which will turn to the outside for this sweeping left-hander. We're seeing some contact through here already, and it looks like these two drivers have managed to keep it clean. Saying that, as Galactic Skull goes off the road, and also Anel Tanovic, I think who that was, who went off. I think that might have been Kadeshi, in fact. So there is absolute chaos back here in the midfield. Battling going on absolutely everywhere. Credit to the guys that are making my job very easy, because I've actually got stuff to commentate on. So thanks for that, guys. But JFD here is looking to get the run on Anel Tanovic. Going into the chicane is a bit too far back, but will he be able to get a good run coming out of the chicane? No, he goes a little bit deep. Oh, and it looks like Galactic Skull is hit. I think that might have been Galactic Skull hit JFD in the rear there. I think that might have been Galactic Skull. I'm not too sure though. Not too sure. That's caused JFD to go and have a major issue on the grass there. But we are on board with Kadeshi, who is tucked up the back of Ragno. Currently in P7 is Kadeshi. Jeez, I haven't stopped talking here so far. But just going on board quickly with Nemesis, who has now extended his lead to Murcielago with three and a bit minutes left remaining in this race. It looked like Murcielago was threatening the Italian for a slight period of time, but in fact he is starting to extend his gap over Murcielago. But we will now go on board again with Ragno, as it looks like Kadeshi has been in fact able to move himself up into P6 past Ragno, so I have missed that. But I think the next battle we will be seeing will be the battle for 3rd place on the podium, and Kadeshi has just gone flying past VSR Blizzard there. Well, okay then. I didn't quite see that. Oh, Ragno's a bit late on the brakes, then gets very close to the back of VSR Blizzard. Will he be able to get a good enough run to have a look down the inside into this upcoming hairpin? Yes, he is. Oh, that looks like Kadeshi's also gone deep. Now we'll go on board with Kadeshi here, and we're going to get B3 wide. Going into... Oh, I'll change camera angle. This thing, he really is a pain in the bum. Oh, and bye-bye, Ragno. See you later. He's outbroken himself massively there. And he's down into P7 now. But we'll stay on board here with Kadeshi to see whether or not he will make a move on VSR Blizzard into turn 1. No, he decides better of it. But as I was saying before this battle recommenced, oh, and that's VSR Blizzard in the grass. Will Kadeshi be able to capitalise? No, he won't. But as I've been trying to say now for the last minute and a half, the next battle will be between Mark and Chazza for that 3rd place position, as we will now go on board with our reigning GT3 champion, Mark, who's looking to go to get that podium place after quite a disappointing start where I believe he was taken out. So, can Mark here get past Chazza? Looks like Chazza at the moment is holding him quite comfortably, but that might not stay the same, as Mark really has been closing the gap in on Chazza in the last couple of laps, as he gets a quite good exit out in the final corner. Will he be close enough to go down the inside into turn 1? No, I don't think so. He's a bit too far back there. But we'll go on board with Galactic Skull and Ragnar, who are going side by side. Jeez. Sorry for that, guys. 30 seconds behind the lead of the race, as now Anel Tanovic has joined the battle as well. Wow, so we are having quite a scrap here today, back in the midfield for 5th place. As Galactic Skull runs wide, sorry guys, I was blowing my nose there. As Galactic Skull has run wide and Aneltanovic has capitalised and moved up into P6. Oh, but he's got on the grass, and will that allow Galactic Skull to go back through? And yes, it will. Galactic Skull is now back up into P6, but will now go back on board with Mark and Chazza. Oh, Mark's got a very good run, and it looks like there's been a little bit of contact coming out of the chicane there between the two Brits. And Mark, can he make the move stick? No, Chazza holds Mark off for the time being. But of course, this is the final lap of the race, as Nemesis takes the win in race 1, and Chazza will hold off Mark to finish P3, closely followed by Mark behind. But let's see in this battle for 5th what on earth is happening, because this has been absolutely chaotic so far in this race. Will Galactic Skull think about going down the inside of Ragno? No, he decides better at 6th behind Ragno and says, you know what, I'm going to be happy with 6th place, and I would be too. A great drive there by Galactic Skull, who finishes ahead of Ragno indeed. Ragno did have a penalty indeed. So that means Aneltanovic will finish 7th, and I need to go get a drink because my throat is very dry after that race. Wow. That was a brilliant race by the guys. But we have Nemesis taking the win, followed by Murcielago in P2, Chazza in P3, Mark in P4, Galactic Skull in P5, Ragnar in P6, Aneltanovic in P7, VSR Blizzard in P8, Kadeshi in P9, Beamer Black in P10, and of course we have Danny Ibn Lahar in 11th, and JFD coming home in 12th. But as we now go back to the lobby, that I will take myself to go get a drink, because well my throat is very dry, so I'll just leave you to yourselves for a second or so. And we are back for qualifying, but the most important thing about this second qualifying session of the evening is that we have random weather. So I'm sure that we are probably going to see some fog or some rain here, and if not in qualifying, certainly in the race, where we also have these same settings. Oh, and we have some very, very heavy rain here, so this might mix things up at the front. But we will remain. That remains to be seen. Yes, that's it, Neblo. As Chazza posted in the chat, thank God the race ended when it did. Indeed, the race ended at the perfect time for Chazza, as it looked like Mark did have the pace to get past Chazza, but Chazza did well on the last lap of the race there to hold off Mark and to secure that P3. But we will stay on board and with the man who took pole position very, very slightly over Mark in the first race in Nemesis Racing. Look at these treacherous conditions we have here at Donington Park. I'm sure if there is any rain in the race, we will be having a very, very chaotic race. And as if the first race was not chaotic enough, I think my head might explode if we have a more chaotic race, as we have a car off the track there. And thankfully they stayed out of the way of Nemesis there, because that is the worst thing that can happen. I know a couple of weeks ago, back at Brands Hatch in the wet, Chazza, my good mate, was got hampered in his qualifying laps a couple of times by being held up by traffic and cars spinning off in the rain. So hopefully that doesn't happen to any other driver in their pursuit to get a good qualifying and starting position for race 2. As Nemesis is about to start. His flying lap, and indeed he has started as he heads down into turn 1. A very hard braking point, especially in these wet conditions. But it looks like, yes, Nemesis just about keeps it on track there. He went a little bit wide with very, very tricky conditions. But let's see how he manages this left-hander. Oh, not much grip there as he goes a little bit wide once again. Oh, and he just about keeps it on the track. I think he was outside the white lines, there was Nemesis, but he does a good job to make sure he doesn't go onto the grass and completely ruin his lap. Now, will he be able to get stopped in time for this next right-hander? Indeed he does. What a beautiful, beautiful corner that was by the Italian. And he takes that right-hander well once again. Will he be able to hit that second apex? Well, yes, indeed he does. But now we're coming up to this all-important chicane. Will he be able to master this chicane, or will the conditions prove too difficult for him? No, look at that. He takes absolutely beautifully there, does the Italian. A little bit cautious, but in the wet here, especially on your first lap, important just to get a time in. Oh, as he runs off the road and onto the grass there. This could be a costly mistake by the Italian here. And it's now behind another car. So this could completely hamper his qualifying result, as we now have our first couple of lap times coming in. As Ragno sets a 42.9, who's currently on provisional pole, with Mark 3/10 behind him. But of course, Nemesis is on a 44.9 after that mistake at the hairpin. Oh, as he nearly hits Danny Bin Lahar in front of him. Thankfully, he has stayed out of the back of Danny Bin Lahar there. But currently, we have Ragno on provisional pole with a 42.9. Mark further 3/10 behind that on a 43.2. Danny Bin Lahar on a 43.5, Chazza on a 44.2, Beamer Black on a 44.8. So there's a couple of drivers there who are pretty regular at the front of the grid who didn't quite deliver there. That includes Mark, who has just gone into P2, 3/10 behind. Or was he there all the time and I think in it? I don't know, I can't remember. But it looks like the rain has slightly eased here at Donington Park. Oh, and Danny and Nemesis have both ruined both of their laps by cutting the chicane. Nemesis just needed a clean lap there to improve on his position to P6 after he, of course, went deep, as we've just seen Danny Bin Lahar doing. It seems as if the drivers are really struggling there, as there's a big patch, a big puddle of water in the middle of the track there. So the drivers will have to look out for that on the rest of their laps, as we now are on board with Nemesis going through the final corner. Will he be able to improve on his current starting position of P6? No, he is not. His lap time must have been invalidated, of course, when he cut the chicane. Is there anyone else who's on a lap? I don't believe so. So there you guys have it. Ragno takes a very impressive pole position in the rain there with his first lap. He's followed, of course, then second by Mark, then in third by Danny Bin Lahar, fourth is Kadeshi, fifth is Blizzard, and thank you, game. As I was saying, fifth is Blizzard, sixth is Murcielago, Chazza, who will be disappointed in seventh, but the main loser out of this qualifying session is Nemesis, who is in P9, and of course Beamer Black in P8. Very poor qualifying by the Italian there, made two crucial mistakes on both of his runs. And then of course we have JFD starting in 10th, Galactic Skull starting in 11th, and Anel Tanovic in 12th. At the hairpin, the whole track is a puddle, says Chazza in the chat. Yes, indeed, I did see that on board with Nemesis and with Danny Bin Lahar. They just went both straight on at that hairpin. And once again, I've forgotten to mention, we have heavy rain for this race. So that hairpin is going to be a hot spot in this race, as we are now waiting for the 5 lights to signal the start of the race. And it is lights out and away we go, as Ragno looks as if he has got a rather brilliant start. Oh, and there's a car there, VSR Blizzard, I'm not sure what's happened there. Back further behind, he is off the track as it looks like Chazza is trying to go around the outside. Oh, and some cars have gone very wide there. This is certainly going to be quite a start to this race here, but Nemesis has done a brilliant job and is already in P5 after starting in P9. Oh, and who is that? That was Danny Bin Lahar, I think. Yes, it was. Beached on the side of the track. We're certainly not been short of any action tonight here, as it looks like Chaz has gone a little bit wide there, and that might just allow Murcielago to have a look down the inside of him into the next corner, but no, not quite. Maybe. Where are these cameras? This is so annoying, this little system that this game has got. But we are now finally on board with Murcielago behind Chazza. Will he be able to make a move down into the chicane? No, he definitely thinks better of it. Certainly not worth it, but we are coming towards the chicane, which has haunted everyone in this qualifying session. Oh, and you can see how big that puddle is as Chazza goes through and just goes straight. Absolutely horrible for these drivers, as I have just seen now. Nemesis has moved himself up into P4. So the Italian right here is doing a brilliant job of moving his way through the field after it's been a very disappointing qualifying by him. But we'll just go on board with Kadeshi and VSR Blizzard, who has done spectacularly to end up in P8 after the end of the lap, where when we went on board with him, as we were going down towards turn 1, he was facing the wrong way on the grid. So terrific stuff there by Blizzard, that's for sure. And not to mention, he is behind Mark, of all people, down in P7. So Mark and VSR Blizzard will be looking to come back through the field and get as many points as possible, as VSR Blizzard has certainly got a very good run on Mark. Through the S is certainly looking a lot more confident than Mark. At this stage of the race, in these treacherous conditions, will he look to go up the inside? Oh, okay, it looks like he absolutely pile-drived Mark, but of course with my leg being in Australia, it looks a lot worse as it is. But we will go on board with the battle for third place, which is slightly more important. I'm sorry guys, but Nemesis and Murcielago. Oh, the Italian was certainly a little bit late on the brakes, but Murcielago slightly cuts the chicane, or as Fernando Alonso once said, the chicken. But now let's see how the drivers will handle the puddle. Oh, I'm very glad I'm not driving this race. That looks like an absolute nightmare for the drivers. But Nemesis has taken it better than Murcielago and has moved himself up into P3 if he's able to keep it on the track. Oh, and he does just about stay ahead of Murcielago there, does Nemesis. So a great and a very nice move at that treacherous chicane by the Italian to get past Murcielago for P3, as it looks like the drivers are starting to struggle even more with these conditions. But we'll go back on board with Kadeshi behind Galactic Skull, as that is the closest battle on track. As they're coming through the S's, will Kadeshi be able to keep it on the track, tightly followed up behind Galactic Skull, and it looks like he's got a better run than Galactic Skull out of that corner. Will he be able to do anything about it though? It looks like he is just too far back to do anything about it, that is for sure. Oh, he's made a very nice move down the inside there, has Kadeshi. Completely mugs off Galactic Skull, but all will go on board with Chazza, as it looks like he had got very close there to Ragno, but oh, look how slow the drivers are having to go through the hairpin. This is quite hilarious, this stuff is. Oh, what an absolute nightmare that is for the drivers. But it looked like Chazza had gained on Ragnar and was only just behind him, but he must have just been I don't know, he must have missed the corner and had to cut the corner or something. I don't know, I can't quite explain that as we weren't on board. But we'll once again go on board with Kadeshi, who has found himself once again behind Galactic Skull. I'm sure he'll be quite frustrated that he keeps losing this position to Galactic Skull when it looks like he is certainly a little bit quicker and a little bit more comfortable in these conditions compared to the Scot. And it looks like Kadeshi's got another great run through these sweeping corners, as he had done so previously. But just looking at the battle for second and the top three, it looks like Nemesis is starting to close in ever so slightly on Chazza, so we'll keep my eye on that is for sure, as this race continues. But it looks like we are in quite a bit of a calm stage of this race, which is good. Allows me to get my breath back. But saying that, Ragno and Chazza are right behind each other now, as Chazza is going to look to make a move down the inside of the hairpin. No, in fact, he decides better of it. He's going to try and make sure Ragno maybe scares himself into making a mistake, but good composure there shown by the Italian, as he has come out much better coming out of that hairpin. So great driving there by Ragno to stay ahead of Chazza for the lead of the Grand Prix. But indeed, as I had just mentioned, it looks like Nemesis is starting to close on these two up ahead. We'll now go on board, however, with VSR Blizzard, who is tucked up behind Kadeshi in the battle for P6. Must say, VSR's done a brilliant job. He's overtaken Mark since we've been last on board with him, and that is no mean feat. So quality driving there by VSR Blizzard. Oh, and he's made some contact there with Kadeshi, and he's hit Kadeshi off into the gravel. Poor mistake there by VSR Blizzard, and he probably should be punished for that mistake, because you can't be doing that. But we will go back on board once again for the lead of the race, as Ragno goes ultra defensive into the chicane. Oh, they can't stop the cars. They can't stop. Oh, this is absolutely horrific conditions here at Donington Park in race 2. Gee, this is absolutely horrible conditions. But it looks like Murcielago, that was a great car angle to go back onto, but he is now side by side with Nemesis 4P4, and as we were just last on board, and the Italian has gone deep, and that will allow Murcielago to go up the inside to move himself up into P3, but Valerio is still there. And will he be able to look and make the move down the inside? And looks like he's got the job done, unless Murcielago can tuck back down the inside, but Valerio has cut that off. And it looks like Nemesis will stay in P3 for the time being. But as I was just about to say, since we were last on board with VSR Blizzard, he's moved himself up into P5, of course. So, don't know what's happened to a couple of drivers or what's happened behind there. Oh, it's Murcielago! He's got to try and make a move around the outside of Nemesis. Oh, what a move that is by the Austrian. Wow. That is a ridiculous move he has just made on Nemesis right there. Oh, that is absolute sauce. That is hot sauce. Wow. What a move around the outside of that right-hander by Murcielago. That is brilliant racing between these two. As once again, they are struggling to slow the cars down in the chicane and the hairpin. As now it looks like Murcielago might be indeed the one to go and challenge for Chazza, but no, it looks like he's gone wide. He did go very wide there in the hairpin as he got sucked in by the puddle. But he has managed to stay ahead of Nemesis in P3, and it looks like Chazza may be falling back into this group here, as he's starting to fall ever so slightly behind Ragno lap by lap here. But of course we will stay on board with Nemesis, who is following Murcielago here. Well, we have a battle here for 8th place as Kadeshi is looking to go down the inside of Galactic Skull into turn 1. Will he be able to make moves stick? As who's that up ahead? That is Anel Tanovic, and as he's trying to rejoin the track as best as he could there, and that has allowed Kadeshi, who was going wide, to get past Anel Tanovic, but more importantly has allowed Galactic Skull to gain 2 positions on Anel Tanovic and Kadeshi, and has moved himself up into P6. He's taken very good advantage of that situation there, has Galactic Skull, but we will go back on board here with Nemesis, as it looks like he's gone overcooked, or he's just slowed it down in time, thankfully, to not crash into the back of Murcielago. But once again, let's see if Murcielago goes a little bit deep. Oh, the car's almost going into anti-stall here. This is absolutely ridiculous how slow these guys are having to go through that hairpin to even stay on the track. But I've just noticed VSR Blizzard is now closing up on Nemesis and Murcielago, and as you can see, his last lap time was a 1:43.6. Nemesis and these guys are in the 45s. So VSR Blizzard has got some outstanding pace and could, with just over 2 minutes left, take P4 away and maybe even P3 away from Nemesis and Murcielago. Of course, that remains to be seen. It looks like Nemesis was running a bit wide there, but he's managed to keep it on the track. But we will now go on board with VSR Blizzard, who is absolutely flying at the moment. behind Nemesis as Nemesis goes wide, and it looks like it's just a matter of time before VSR Blizzard gets past the Italian here. As he looks to go down the inside on the Italian, what a terrific move that is by VSR Blizzard there. A clinical overtake. Will he be able to hold off Nemesis into the chicane though? Yes, he will, as Nemesis cuts and misses the chicane. But now, VSR Blizzard has got a beautiful run on Murcielago, as Murcielago also struggled in the chicane. VSR is down the inside, will be able to get it stopped in the absolute... Oh, we'll go on board. Oh, there's been a little bit of contact there, and that has sent VSR spinning around. Oh dear, it has certainly not been VSR Blizzard's day. He's been spun around the wrong way a couple of times now. But it is now Nemesis who is in P3, ahead of Murcielago in P4. But we still have to watch out for VSR Blizzard on this last lap. His pace is very, very strong. And who knows, these two could battle and he could be brought back into this scrap for P3. But saying that, Ragno does look very comfortable out ahead in the lead. 2 seconds ahead of Chaza, but now Murcielago gets a very nice round on Nemesis. Will he be able to make a move on the Italian into the next right-hander here? Oh, Nemesis is going very, very defensive, blocking Murcielago in every way he possibly can. And that has indeed worked for the Italian, as he has managed to hold off that attack of Murcielago. But will Murcielago have anything left? As I've just noticed, Mark is now ahead of VSR Blizzard. But will these two be able to get it slowed down for the chicane? Nemesis, he goes wide. He goes into the gravel at the chicane, and that looks like that's going to gift Murcielago P3. Oh, but Nemesis has absolutely thrown it, and there is some major contact there between Murcielago and Nemesis for P3. Oh, and Nemesis has hit Murcielago as he dives down the inside. They're side by side as a drag race to the line, but it looks like Murcielago will come out on top. Well, what a battle that was for the final podium position, and in the mix of all that chaos, it was indeed Ragno who has taken the race victory here. A terrific drive. He never was really threatened by anyone in this race. He avoided the chaos at the start of the race and did a brilliant job to control the race there. And he is followed home by Chaz in P2, Murcielago in P3. Nemesis and Murcielago had a titanic battle for P3. Very happy I was on board to watch that. So it is Nemesis who's in P4, Mark in P5, Kadeshi in P6, VSR Blizzard in 7, who looks like he could have been getting a podium position at one stage. So quite disappointing there for VSR Blizzard. And Altanovic will come home in 8th, JFD in 9th, Galactic Skull in 10th, and Danny Bin Lahar in 11th. But I'm not too sure if Beamer Black was where he was, because he just left the session. So there you guys have it. What an extraordinary race we just had there. Wow, I am left quite speechless by that battle between Murcielago and Nemesis. That was some high quality racing between those two drivers, who are of course in this championship battle. But it looks like Chazza might still be in the lead here of the championship. Of course, you can check out the championship standings as they will be published in the coming days on the Nemesis Online Racing League Twitter account. So of course, make sure you guys stay and look out for that. But I think that will be it for today, guys. So thank you so much for joining in what has been a titanic round 3 here at Donington Park. It's been an absolute pleasure commentating for Nemesis. I've been asking him for a long time, so thank you to him, and thank you to everyone who joined and who will watch this race. I hope you all have a great evening, day, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I hope you have a great day, and thank you so much, guys, for joining. Ta-da.